Hi there, I'm Greg Vinkler, Artistic Director of Peninsula Players Theater, and I'm here with Sean Grennan, who has written 3 of the most loved plays we've done in our 85-year history.
Oh, go on, go on.
Oh, yes, and they are Making God Laugh, The Tin Woman, and Now and Then. Hello, Sean.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for being here with us. Before we talk about some of those plays, you've written a bunch of other stuff, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I actually started, I think it was 94, 95 at the Marriott Theater. Got the weirdest left field break in the world. I was mostly an actor then, but I got this weird break to write with my wife. I wrote the book to a show called Phantom of the Country Palace that they trusted us to do, and they never should have. That was a huge mistake, but it went really well. We got very nice reviews, and it got published, and it's been done around the world. And that fluky thing just started me off on this, and it was so strange. It was the first time a joke or a line I wrote that got a great response. I was like, that's it. I was in my mid-30s or maybe beyond, but I was like, no, this is what I should be doing.
Because you were an actor.
Yeah, actor for 35 years or so. I didn't immediately that day quit acting or anything. I did both for several years, but I could tell I was going towards this writing thing, largely because you can do it sitting down, and that's a good thing. But also it just was. Kathy and I were driving once, and she said, if you could be the star of a Broadway play or be the writer of a Broadway play, which would you rather be? I said, the writer. And she said, well, that's it. Yeah. So, and it just had something sprung in me. It's just one of those things that happens, so.
And you don't miss the acting as much?
No, I pretty much remember how to do it, but it's a funny thing, even all those years, I've got pensions from all the unions and stuff. I did them for many years, but when I go into a rehearsal room now, I am fascinated by actors and how they do things and how can I help them do things better. And, it's almost like they're a different thing that I was and still am. I act once in a great while now, but.
Well, you acted in 2 shows for us.
I did.
Mystery of Irma Vep and then there were none.
Yeah. I finally got my feet on the Players stage as an actor, and I know you regret that, but it worked out very, very well for me. I had a ball, and it's a blast.
So you've done after Phantom of the Country opera, was it?
It was called Phantom of the Country Palace at the time. Yeah.
At the time, and then you went on to write quite a few other musicals and plays.
I did, yeah. We wrote another thing for the Marriott that didn't go as well, but we wrote it very fast, and it just kind of a mess. But got to work with great people. That was called Miss Cinderella, and then I sort of went dormant for a while. I wrote a little show, kind of a Durangish show called Luck, kind of like Christopher Durang, because I love his style, and that actually got us a showcase production in New York. But I kind of went quiet for a while, and I was just, I wouldn't say blocked. I just didn't know which way to go. And then Paul Huff at the American Heartland Theater contacted me in New York when I was living
in
there.
Kansas City.
Exactly.
Right.
And he contacted me to act in a play for him, a 2-hander called The Diary of Adam and Eve, 2-actor play. And while I was there, he said, you were writing, are you still writing? And I said, well, kind of. And he said, well, you should write for me. And I said, well, can I submit some? Should I throw you something? And he was so generous about it. I said, sure. And I wrote a musical called Married Alive that went well for them, and it's had a nice life. And as a result of that, I wrote a show called A Dog's Life, and then a Christmas 2-hander called Another Night Before Christmas. And then I wrote a play, a comedy, Beer for Breakfast, and then another Farsi show called As Long as We Both Shall Live. So it kind of restarted me, and it's just an amazing experience to have a theater say, yeah, bring us things, because there's nothing like getting to do your work, getting it up and seeing it, and seeing what fails, what works, and all that. That's extraordinary.
So when you got to the first show that you wrote that we did, Making God Laugh, that was a Was that a turn in your writing or what?
Yeah, at the American Heartland, God love them. They're gone now, but they gave me great shots. But their ethos, their vibe there was mostly comedies and lighter
Hmm.
shows. And I think you could see if you study the Grennan canon, you could see a little turn for me with Making God Laugh. It was
Hmm.
pretty funny. People feel it's maybe my funniest show in some ways, but it's also has some darker, heavier things in it. And
Hmm.
I don't think as a writer, as a person, I was allowing myself permission to show you darker things. It's a little bit how I was as a person. I'm funny, don't worry. But there's other things in here. And Making God Laugh was the turn of that.
And how did that show come about for you? Where'd you get the idea for that? I should say, first of all, that it's about a family, parents and 3 children, and it's in 4 scenes, 2 acts, and each scene takes place at a different holiday.
Right. And each holiday is 10 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
So the play spans 30 years. So it starts in 1980 on Thanksgiving, and then 1990 at Christmas, and then 2000 at New Year's Eve. So, and then the last scene is, I left a little more nebulous, but it's ostensibly 2011 or so, around Easter. I guess I wanted to, I was getting older, and I was just reflecting on life. And I thought about my own family. I come from a large family, 6 kids. I think that's large. It's large these days.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just walking down the street. Literally, I think I had my previous dog was still alive then, my guy Jack. I was walking him and thinking about, boy, the things you think you're going to do when you start out and the things you actually end up doing are quite different, because I was in my late 40s at this point. And you start to see the whole arc a little better at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you're stupid when you're young, you just haven't lived it, and you haven't done the same stupid things over and over again.
Right.
But so I thought about my various siblings, and it's not completely autobiographical. There's bits and pieces from things, so I'm not indicting any of them. But I thought about how all of that goes, and it just made me think, oh yeah, family. I like family. I like writing about family. So why not that? And then I started out very funny, but then I thought, as the show went on, as sometimes happens, particularly holidays can be very charged. Even if they're joyous, they're also charged. And sometimes people have a drink and say things they shouldn't and all of that sort of thing. So I brought in some of that material as well, because I thought it was more resonant.
Mm-hmm.
And but I kind of always want the shows to have hope. Even if people don't get the big trophy they wanted, there's an uplift, there's a hope, there's like, what we're doing here is good, and we're trying, and if we look at everything we accomplish or don't accomplish in the right way, we can still feel good about it.
And I think one of the things that was so appealing about the play was that it was about family, and we all pretty much have parents and siblings, and there was a lot to identify with it. And in it, I remember the mother, she has dementia, but it ends up being sort of benign.
Yes, I was trying to finish the play I was reading, I think it was Newsweek or something, and there was a long article in there about a woman whose mother had what's called pleasant dementia. And the dementia, by the way, my actual mom has dementia and was showing some signs then. So I was pretty open to this idea, you could say. Anyway, pleasant dementia in this woman's case, she had been kind of a tough cookie all her life. She'd been kind of, and this had descended on her. And of course it's a handicap, and of course it's a trial, but it had removed her anger. And she had just become what they all say we should be, in the moment, happy. Look around, this is good right now, and appreciate that. And her daughter's experience of her was so much better than the daughter's experience of her most of their lives. She was a stern person, and she had become just very happy. And
it does end on a positive, hopeful note in a way. It's
right.
it was great. That was in in 2011, and then in 2014 we did The Tin Woman,
Right.
which resonated with a lot of our audience in ways that I'd never seen before. Many people were deeply affected by it.
Right.
Can you tell me what prompted you to write that?
Well, the very beginning of it was my sister Erin, who ended up being in the play as the lead, who's an actress that you guys know up there. She and I went out for Indian food in my neighborhood, and we were talking about stuff, and she had, she had been in other things of mine. She'd been in Making God Laugh, and she said, "Listen, I've got this thing I've been carrying around, and I think I'd like you to think about writing it." And she sort of took out a little clipping, and it was about a woman who had gotten a heart transplant and then met the family of the donor, and in the course of the meal, the family was like saying, "Boy, the mother at one point said, he would have loved you." And she was like, oh, demurring, so yeah, whatever. But no, he really would have loved you. And they realized these two might have been a match. These two might have been good for each other, except obviously they can't be. But so I started thinking about that. That was sort of where it all began. And I went away and I started initially thinking about a sort of a play about love between these two, but I went away from that, but kept a thread of it. There's still a thread of that in there. There's still a bit of that in there. And I started doing research because I don't completely make everything up. I figured a show with medical stuff, I'm not really a doctor. I should check this out. And I found out that people who get heart transplants, sometimes they're all, it's a party, hats and horns, this is great. Sometimes they have what's called survivor's guilt, and they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know if they deserve it. They don't know if it's, why me? Why did this person have to die for me to get this? So that was interesting to me. And I realized that the family that had donated the heart, while they did a wonderful thing, they're still grieving. And so they have their own, and that family could react, each member could react differently. So I started sort of with that as an idea about how all of these people who are conflicted and troubled can eventually heal each other. And it came together well in that show. And by the way, I don't outline before I start. I just sit there and let the voices talk. And sometimes I get to the end of a show and go, well, that's awful. And, but that one came together well. And I was very, very happy with it. And I was very surprised. I guess I'm happy by the reaction to it, because you never know. I'm sitting there in the opening night audience. The Stones will tell you I sat in front of them for that one, and I was like, oh God. But it went well. So you don't have any objectivity until it opens.
Sean, thank you so much for chatting with us today about your work, and good luck in the future.
Okay, thank you all. Hello, Peninsula. Love and be loved. Good to see you all.